The weirdest part? She smiled. Nadine set the envelope on the kitchen table like she was leaving me a birthday card. Same soft voice she used when ordering a latte. I think this is the best thing for both of us, Leon. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Her body language said everything, relief, maybe even excitement. 27 years married. And she looked like she just dropped off dry cleaning. My name's Leon. I'm 54. I run a fishing charter business out of Pensacola, Florida. My dad started it in the 80s. I made it bigger, made it better. I nodded, slid the envelope toward me, and pulled out the papers. Divorce. All neat and typed up. Nadine stood there in her peach blouse and khaki slacks, arms crossed like she was waiting for a receipt. Her hair was pinned just right, nails still perfect. Not one damn crack in her armor. She said, I'm staying with Donna in Tampa, just until I figure things out. I grabbed a pen from the drawer. You're not waiting for me to beg, are you? She blinked. No, of course not. I didn't expect you to be so calm. I scratched my name on the last line. You want out. Door's right there. Something shifted in her eyes, like I ruined the script she'd rehearsed in her head. You're not even curious why? She asked. I stood. You need to find yourself, right? Go find her. Let me know if she's any better than the one who decorated my house like a Pier 1 exploded. Her face went flat. She grabbed her duffel from the hallway. You've always been emotionally unavailable. You've always been somewhere else. She didn't slam the door. She shut it gently, like she didn't want to wake a baby that wasn't there. Once her car pulled out, the house felt weird. Not empty light, like someone cracked open a window that had been sealed for decades. I walked into our bedroom. Her perfumes lined up like trophies, closet full of boutique crap she never wore. I pulled out a few trash bags and started packing her stuff. Drawer by drawer, quiet, methodical. By 4 o'clock, I had her things boxed in the garage. At 5, I called a locksmith. Told him I wanted every lock changed by sundown. He was there in an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I didn't even sit down. I stood by the front window, arms crossed, watching the locksmith drill out the old hardware. When he was done, I handed him $100 and said, "Make sure she doesn't get a damn key." He nodded. "You got it." I locked the door behind him, took one last walk through the place, and turned off the porch light. No reflection, no music, no tears, just a man in a house that wasn't hers anymore. I didn't sleep in the big house that night or any night after. I grabbed my duffel, a couple clean shirts, and moved into the old boat cabin out back. My dad built it in the early 90s, solid pine walls, no nonsense. Small bathroom, little kitchen, single bed with a lumpy mattress. It had its own entrance, utilities, and enough quiet to think straight. The big house sat untouched for a few days. No music, no movement, just her scent still hanging in the air like an echo I didn't ask for. On day 4, I got a message. Tessa. Hey, I heard what happened. Are you okay? Want to grab coffee sometime? Tessa. Nadine's younger cousin. About 15 years younger than me. We'd crossed paths at family stuff, holidays, the occasional cookout, but we never talked much. She always came off grounded, quiet, never played the room like Nadine did. I stared at the message a second, then typed back. Me? Sure. Haven't left the property in days. You can swing by if that's easier. She showed up the next morning, pulling into the gravel drive in an old Honda Civic. Jeans, tank top, hair in a messy bun. No makeup, no jewelry. Just a half-empty iced coffee and a reusable tote bag. Hey, she said when I opened the gate. Didn't want to assume you'd be up for this. I'm up, I said. Just not talking to a lot of people. She nodded, followed me around the side to the cabin. I pulled 2 folding chairs into the shade near the lemon tree, handed her a bottle of water. I always liked this spot, she said. Feels real back here. Not staged. That was Nadine's thing, I said. Everything had to look like a magazine cover, even if nobody was reading it. She gave me a small smile. She always made it hard to be around, even as a kid. We sat in silence for a bit. Nothing heavy, just quiet. She didn't rush the moment or try to dig. Then she said, "I'm not here to pick sides. I just always thought you deserved better." That hit me harder than I expected. Not the words, the tone. Honest. No pity in it. "Appreciate that," I said. "You ever tell her that?" "Nope. Would have made Thanksgiving real awkward." I chuckled. First one I'd let out in a while. She grinned. She asked about the charter business, how it was going, if I had trips lined up. I told her bookings were steady, fall season was slow, but I'd get through. She told me about her job, home health nursing, mostly elderly patients. Said she liked it even when it got messy. Nadine used to roll her eyes when I told her I cleaned up after stroke patients. Said I had no ambition. She said the same about my dad when he started the charter. Said real men worked in offices. Yet here you are, still afloat. We talked for almost an hour. No awkward pauses. No fake concern. Just two people breathing in the same air and not pretending to be something they weren't. Before she left, she stood at the gate and looked back. "You need anything, just shoot me a text. I'm not good at pretending things didn't happen. Neither am I." She smiled again, but it wasn't polished like Nadine's. It was real, slight crooked tooth, lines by her eyes. Lived in. After she pulled out, I sat under the lemon tree for a while. Sun high, air thick, cicadas screaming from the oaks. The house behind me stayed quiet, still wrapped in that fake seashell skin Nadine called style. Later that week, Tessa texted again. Nothing pushy, just a video of her dog running into a screen door. I laughed harder than I should have. That started something. Every couple of days we'd talk. Sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes an hour. No flirting, no weird tension. Just real stuff, like how her patient Mr. Langley tried to fire her for putting salt in his soup. She didn't. Or how I once took a group of drunk bachelorette girls fishing and one puked in my tackle box. She listened. I listened. No fixing, no coaching. Just two people unhooking from their lives. One honest word at a time. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a man waiting to be replaced. 2 weeks after she left, I was drinking coffee on the porch when I heard a car pull in. Tessa. Ponytail, sunglasses, tank top that read "Don't test me," and a tote bag full of spray bottles and scrub brushes. No warning. No hesitation. She popped the trunk. "We're cleaning the damn house." I blinked. "You're what?" She lifted out a mop like she was holding a weapon. "That place has been frozen in Nadine's perfume for years. Time to air it out." I didn't argue, just opened the front door and stepped aside. The moment she walked in, she said, "Jesus, it's like Hobby Lobby and a Florida souvenir shop had a baby in here." Sounds about right. She didn't waste time. She dumped the tote on the kitchen counter, pulled on rubber gloves, and started tearing down everything with a slogan. First came the "Live Laugh Love" over the pantry door. Then the "Beach Hair Don't Care" hanging near the bathroom. "She paid money for this stuff," Tessa muttered, yanking a fake driftwood mirror off the hallway wall. "She once made me drive to Destin just for that one." Tessa held it up, dead serious. "I hope you made her pump the gas." That made me laugh harder than I'd expected. It was like someone hit a reset button on the whole damn house. We moved from room to room, her spraying and scrubbing, me hauling out trash bags. The pile grew fast. Shell art, metallic throw pillows, a giant fake coral centerpiece that had its own stand. Midway through the afternoon, she opened a linen closet and shouted, "No way!" "What?" She pulled out a giant pink candle in the shape of a pineapple. "This thing is a fire hazard and a cry for help." That was her Valentine's gift to herself. Said it brought tropical energy. Tessa laughed, loud and real. "I bring tropical energy every time I use lemon-scented bleach." We kept going until dusk. I ordered burgers. We sat on the back steps, eating straight from the paper wrappers, sweat on our foreheads, paint chips in our hair. "She used to make fun of my job," Tessa said between bites. "Said wiping old people's butts wasn't a career." "She said that to you?" "Every Thanksgiving, right after Grace." I shook my head. "She used to tell me if I ever got sick, she'd hire a nurse before touching a bedpan." Tessa looked out across the yard. Guess that's why she left. Didn't want to deal with any mess. Or real life. We sat quiet for a while. No music. Just the sound of crickets and the last of the daylight burning off. You've got a good place here, she said. Once you take your house back. I looked at the main room. The walls were stripped bare. Just drywall and nail holes. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like I was walking through someone else's showroom. You think it can be salvaged? I asked. I don't waste time on things that can't. That hit somewhere deep. Not dramatic. Just the way she said it. Flat, certain. It got late. I offered to walk her to her car, but she hesitated. I'm beat, she said, rubbing her shoulder. Mind if I crash in one of the guest rooms? I've been sleeping at my cousin's on a blow-up mattress. Kinda done with waking up on plastic. I nodded. Pick whichever one doesn't smell like coconut lotion and stale dreams. She grinned. So none of them. I tossed her a spare towel. Top shelf in the hallway closet. Water pressure's weak, but it runs hot. She disappeared down the hall and I went back out to the porch. Lit a citronella candle. Sat down with a cold bottle of water and stared at the trash bags piled by the steps. That house had been a damn museum for years. Every fake plant, every decorative bowl, every overpriced wall hanging. It all shouted Nadine's name, but now it was starting to whisper something else. Something quieter, something real, and I hadn't even picked up a paintbrush yet. Next morning, she was still there, barefoot in the kitchen, making toast like she'd done it 100 times. I walked in, and she handed me a mug without asking how I took it. Black, same as always. You want to tackle the living room today or the hallway? She asked, already tying her hair up. I shrugged. Living room's got more junk. Then let's kill it. We didn't stop. Every day she showed up, same jeans, same no-nonsense attitude. We gutted the place top to bottom. Painted over the beige walls with clean whites and grays. Tossed out all the coastal grandma crap Nadine glued to the walls. Tessa didn't ask permission. She just rolled her sleeves and started rolling paint. She rearranged furniture, donated 3 boxes of throw pillows, and set up the bookshelves by color, not aesthetics. Said, it's for function, not fake Pinterest energy. We scrubbed cabinets, patched drywall, tore up the Godawful jute rug Nadine made me order from some influencer brand that took 4 months to ship. One afternoon, I found Tessa sitting on the kitchen floor with a screwdriver in her teeth, cursing at the drawer sliders. You all right? I asked. These bastards are off by a 1/4 inch. I watched her yank the entire track out and start over, muttering. I didn't spend 8 years cleaning bedpans to be defeated by particle board. That woman didn't quit. And I started to feel it. Not just in the walls, inside me. Like I wasn't living under someone else's weight anymore. No pressure to smile at the neighbors or say the right thing at cookouts. Just quiet mornings, hard work, decent food, and the sound of someone real moving through the house. People noticed. Old Mr. Dewey from next door flagged me down while I was hosing off the porch. Place looks great, Leon, he said. More alive than I've seen it in years. Feels different, I told him. Cleaner. Even our mail lady said, whatever y'all are doing over here, keep doing it. This place used to smell like a gift shop. Tessa laughed when I told her that. Guess that's better than smelling like regret and citrus. One evening while she was folding laundry in the guest room, she let out a long sigh. What's up? I asked. She didn't look up. My lease ends in 3 weeks. Rent jumped again. I've been crashing at my cousin's, but I'm running out of space and patience. I didn't even think. Move in here. She paused, shirt halfway folded. What? I'm not offering a guest stay. I'm saying move in. Pick a room. Live here. No pressure, no weirdness. Just this. She looked at me for a long beat. You sure? Yeah, dead sure. You've already rebuilt half this place. Might as well live in it. Her shoulders relaxed. She nodded. All right, no fanfare. I'll start bringing stuff over tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened. Quiet, simple. No big talk. No labels. She brought a few bins, a mattress topper, her dog-eared paperbacks, and a French press that somehow made better coffee than anything I'd ever brewed. We didn't talk about Nadine. We didn't need to. We just lived. Breakfast was easy. She made eggs. I made bacon. Dinner rotated between takeout and grilled chicken. She worked nights sometimes, came home tired, and I'd leave a plate in the microwave. She'd do the same for me after long charter days. No questions, no checking in. Just presence. We shared the porch, shared silence, shared whatever was in the fridge. She'd hum while folding towels. I'd whistle while fixing door hinges. Some days we barely spoke more than 10 words, but it never felt cold. She never tried to fix me, never filled the air with empty talk. She moved like she belonged here, not like she was claiming anything, but like she respected what had been. And in return, I started seeing everything through different eyes. The hallway no longer held ghost shadows of Nadine's picture frames. The dining table didn't feel like a prop. The light felt real. I was sleeping better, breathing easier. Tessa took nothing from me, but somehow I got everything back. It was tax prep that did it. I sat at the kitchen table with a pile of envelopes, receipts, and the joint account statements Nadine and I had shared. I figured I'd just mark what was mine and let the accountant sort the rest. Then I saw the transfers. Not one or two, dozens, spread over almost a year. Some for $300, some for $1,500. All labeled the same, transfer to E. Landers. I pulled out a notebook and added them up, scratching the numbers in the margin. 38,000, give or take. My pulse started to hammer. 38 grand. Gone. Not on furniture or bills or even vacations. Straight into the pocket of some guy named Eric Landers. The name clicked. Nadine's yoga instructor. The one she swore was transformational. Then suddenly started calling her his life coaching client. I'd met him once. Skinny guy in linen pants, smelled like incense and self-importance. I shoved the papers aside and grabbed my phone. Doug picked up on the second ring. Leon, he said, voice calm as ever. You don't usually call this late. I found something. I read him the numbers, the name, the total. She was funneling money to this guy. $38,000. Doug whistled low. That's not pocket change. This changes everything. In a divorce, siphoning marital funds to support another relationship counts. Judges hate it. You're telling me this helps me? I'm telling you it hurts her case. Bad. Get me copies of those statements. We'll build from there. I hung up, still buzzing with heat, when Tessa came in with a laundry basket. You look like you saw a ghost, she said. Worse. I shoved the statement across the table. She was sending him money. Her guru, her life coach, whatever. $38,000. Tessa set the basket down slow. Didn't even flinch. I figured. My head jerked up. What do you mean, you figured? She wasn't exactly subtle. Remember when she kept posting those vague quotes on Facebook about healing through touch? That wasn't from a book. My stomach turned. You knew. I didn't have proof. Just a hunch. But Carly? She stopped herself. My throat tightened. What about Carly? Tessa exhaled. She told me once. She caught Nadine and Eric at dinner in Pensacola. Not yoga class dinner. Nadine told her not to tell you. Said it would ruin the family dynamic. Carly was scared, Leon. She didn't want to blow it up. That cut worse than the money. My daughter carrying that secret, protecting me from my own wife. I grabbed my phone again. I'm calling her. Maybe cool off first, Tessa warned. No, this needs to come out now. Carly answered on the third ring, her voice groggy. Dad? Everything okay? I need to ask you something, I said, trying to steady my tone. Did you know about your mom and this Eric guy? Silence. A long, heavy silence. Carly, she sighed, and her voice cracked. Yeah, I knew. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't know how to tell you. She swore me to secrecy, said it was just emotional support, but it didn't look like it. I swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to be the reason you guys split. I thought maybe it was a phase. I thought she'd stop. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Sweetheart, she already split. She chose him over this family. Her voice wavered. I hated watching her do it. Hated lying to you. I didn't want to lose both of you. That broke something in me. You're not losing me. Ever. You hear me? This isn't on you. None of it. She sniffled. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm the one who's sorry. For making you carry that weight. We sat in silence a moment, just breathing together over the line. Then she whispered, "What happens now?" Now? I glanced at the paperwork spread across the table. Now I make sure your mom doesn't walk away clean. She made her choices. She pays for them. Carly didn't argue. She just said, "I'm with you." After we hung up, I set the phone down slow. Tessa had folded herself into the corner chair, arms crossed, eyes steady. "You okay?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I'm done being blindsided." Saturday morning, I was elbow-deep in dirt, planting basil and rosemary in the little raised bed Tessa had mapped out by the fence. She wanted fresh herbs for cooking, said it'd bring flavor and life to the house. She was 10 feet away, kneeling by the lavender, smudged in paint-stained sweats, tank top riding up her back, hair tied up, skin flushed from the heat, not trying to be anything except present. That's when the engine cut. I looked up and there it was, Nadine's black Lexus parked halfway up the driveway. No warning, no message, just her stepping out in some overpriced white blouse and wedge sandals like she'd been dropped from a catalog. Tessa didn't move, just wiped her hands on a towel and stood. Nadine's eyes scanned the yard, landed on Tessa, then back at me. Her voice came sharp. "You've got to be kidding." I stood. "You weren't invited." She stormed closer, her bracelets clinking like wind chimes. "This is who you moved on with? My cousin? She was always jealous of me. You know that?" Tessa didn't flinch. "No one's jealous of a woman who can't sit in her own choices." "You shut your mouth," Nadine snapped. I stepped in. "Watch your tone." "Oh, so now you're protecting her?" Nadine barked. "You think this makes you look stable in court? You two playing house while the divorce is still open." "You left," I said. "You walked out. You handed me the papers and drove off smiling." "I needed time to think." "No, you needed time to siphon off 38 grand and hand it to your little incense-burning boyfriend." That stopped her cold. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. Tessa crossed her arms. "Yeah, we know about Eric." Nadine looked between us like the air had been sucked out of her lungs. Then she pointed toward the house. "I want to go inside." "No," I said. "You don't live here anymore. I'm still your wife, Leon. Not in anything that matters. Not after what you did." She took a shaky breath. "I need to get some of my things. Your stuff's gone. Been boxed since week 1. You want something else, you call your lawyer. Don't show up here unannounced again." Her hands curled into fists. "This is still my house." "No, it's not." I stepped closer, lowered my voice. "This house is in a family trust. Nadine, my dad protected it before you ever walked down the aisle. You were a guest in it. A long-term one, but still a guest." She blinked fast. "You're bluffing. Ask your attorney. Ask him what siphoning marital funds into an affair does to your settlement." Her face went pale. Color drained from her cheeks like someone flipped a switch. Tessa just stood quiet, strong, not budging an inch. Nadine took a slow step back, heels crunching on gravel. "You'll regret this." "No," I said. "I regretted staying quiet for 27 years. That's over now." She turned without another word, climbed into the Lexus, and slammed the door harder than necessary. Engine roared. Tires kicked dust as she backed out and peeled down the street. Tessa let out a breath. "Well, that was fun. Sorry she dragged you into that." "She didn't drag me anywhere. I walked, and I'm not going anywhere." I knelt back down at the herb bed and jabbed the trowel into the dirt. "We still planting dill?" "Damn right we are," she said. "Now more than ever." 3 weeks later, I walked into court wearing my only suit, the same one I wore to my dad's funeral. Tessa drove me there, quiet the whole way. Her hand never left my knee. Nadine was already inside when I took my seat. Full makeup, blazer, new haircut that probably cost $200. Her lawyer looked like a shark in a cheap suit. Slick, smug, and ready to perform. Doug sat beside me, calm as ever. "Don't react to anything," he whispered. "Just breathe." The judge walked in, called our names, and the mess officially began. Nadine's lawyer went first, laying it on thick. Claimed she'd been blindsided by the divorce. Claimed I'd emotionally abandoned her. Claimed I'd replaced her with her own cousin, and that Tessa's presence in the home was a form of emotional infidelity. Doug leaned toward me. "They're overplaying it. Watch." Then came the demands. Nadine wanted half my business. Said she sacrificed her youth to help it grow. She wanted the house. Said it was part of her identity. And she wanted monthly alimony long-term. I didn't say a word. Just stared at the wall behind the judge, listening to her spin a version of our life that never existed. Then Doug stood. He started simple, laid out the timeline of Nadine's departure, the clean signing of the divorce paperwork, her move to Tampa. Then he pulled out the big guns. The bank statements, every transfer, all $38,000, spread out over 10 months to Eric Landers. Doug looked straight at the judge. "We contend this was not a spiritual coaching relationship, but an affair funded with marital funds without my client's knowledge or consent." He handed over signed testimony from Eric's ex-wife, sworn statements about catching Nadine at their home, at a hotel, even in their shared car. Then he showed photos Carly had taken, nothing graphic, just enough to prove it wasn't business lunches they were having. The judge leaned back and stared at Nadine. "I see no grounds for alimony," she said. "As for the house, this property is clearly held in a family trust, established before the marriage. It is not a divisible asset." Her lawyer opened his mouth, but the judge cut him off. "I've read enough." She turned to Nadine. "You owe Mr. Brooks half the money transferred to Mr. Landers. That's $19,000. Payable within 90 days. No alimony. No claim to the house. And the business remains in Mr. Brooks' sole ownership." Bang of the gavel. That was it. I didn't look at Nadine. I stood, shook Doug's hand, and walked out of the courtroom like I just peeled off a soaked winter coat after 27 years. Tessa was waiting outside, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, expression unreadable. I walked up slow, unsure how I looked, shaky, relieved, maybe a little hollow. "Well?" she asked. "No alimony, no house. She owes me money." Tessa didn't smile. She just nodded once. "Good." We walked to the truck. Sun was out. Air was warm. Everything felt still, like the world had paused for me to catch up. Halfway through the parking lot, I stopped. "You know what pisses me off most?" I said. "She actually thought she could win. After everything. She doesn't know how to lose," Tessa said. "Not without turning it into someone else's fault." I opened the truck door for her and she climbed in. I walked around to the driver's side, slid in, and just sat for a second. My hands rested on the wheel. I took a breath. This was it. No more papers. No more back and forth. No more waiting for a shoe to drop. It was finally, officially over, and I didn't lose a damn thing. We were unloading groceries from the truck when she told me. Tessa stood by the tailgate, holding a bag of oranges, eyes locked on the pavement. I knew that look, like she'd rehearsed something and was finally about to let it out. "I'm pregnant," she said, just like that. No build-up, no soft entry, straight between the eyes. I froze, bag of dog food still in my hands. She looked up, waiting, not scared, but braced. "I didn't plan it. Wasn't trying to trap you or make this complicated." My chest tightened, not in panic, but in the weight of what it meant, what it could mean. She set the oranges down, arms folded. "If you don't want this, I'll move out. I'm not asking for anything." I dropped the dog food on the porch and stepped toward her. "You're not moving anywhere." She blinked. "Leon, you live here. We built this life together. If there's a baby coming, we raise it together." Her eyes softened, but her voice stayed steady. You're sure? I've never been more sure about anything in my life. She exhaled, slow and shaky. I pulled her in, dirt and all, and held her tight. The wind moved through the trees above us like an answer. We told Carly 2 nights later, sitting at the kitchen table with homemade pizza and cold sweet tea. She blinked, fork halfway to her mouth. You serious? She asked. Tessa nodded. We just found out. Carly looked at me, then back at Tessa. Wow. Congrats. Then she laughed. Mom's gonna explode. Tessa smiled. We're prepared. Carly leaned back in her chair, still a little stunned. You two are really doing this, huh? We are, I said. Not because we have to, because we want to. She stared at her plate for a second, then looked up at Tessa. You're gonna be a good mom. That nearly broke me. Carly came around the table and hugged her like she'd been part of our family all along. And maybe she always had been, we just hadn't seen it yet. Of course, Nadine found out by the end of the week. Word travels faster than truth in a town like ours. Her mom, Carly's grandma, called to check in and barely kept the judgment out of her voice. I got the text a few hours later. Long, ranting, full of caps and question marks and half-baked insults. You're having a baby with her? That girl moved into MY house like a snake. Do you even think about what this looks like? I read it once, then deleted it. Didn't answer. Didn't forward it to Doug. Just let it rot in the trash where it belonged. Tessa saw me swipe it away and raised an eyebrow. That her? Yep. Say anything useful? Same noise, different day. She smirked. Let her spiral. I'm not giving her 1 second of this pregnancy. And we didn't. Yeah, we heard the whispers at the grocery store. Saw the sideways glances at the bait shop. But nobody said anything to our faces. And even if they had, I wouldn't have blinked. The people who mattered knew the truth. Carly, Doug, a few close neighbors. Everyone else? Just background noise. We kept living. Slow mornings, real dinners, afternoon naps on the porch swing. Tessa started rubbing her belly without realizing it. I started leaving my hand there too. Life wasn't quiet anymore, but for the first time it felt full. It was a Tuesday morning. Sun was already cooking the pavement, and I was patching a loose board on the back deck when Tessa walked out, holding her phone like it had just spit venom. She looked pale. I set down the drill. What is it? My dad just texted, she said. He's in town. Wants to stop by. I wiped my hands on a rag. That's some kind of joke? Nope, said he. Heard the big news and wants to reconnect. His words. Walt hadn't been part of her life in years. She told me stories, drinking, gambling, disappearing for months at a time. Left her mom holding the bag more times than she could count. I didn't respond, she said, voice tight. Didn't plan to. She didn't have to. 2 hours later, he showed up anyway. Beat up Silverado. Loud muffler. Didn't even knock. Just walked up the drive and shouted, Tess, you home? I stepped out first. He looked older than I expected. Skinny, leathery skin, sun-faded ball cap. That smug confidence some men carry when they've never faced real consequences. Tessa's not looking to reconnect, I said flat out. He chuckled. That ain't what she told me. She didn't tell you anything. You found out and showed up uninvited. Tessa came to the door then, arms crossed, eyes sharp. What do you want, Walt? Just wanted to see how my daughter's doing, he said with fake warmth. Heard you're expecting. Figured I should come say my piece. Maybe help out. Be part of the family again. No, she said. You don't get to stroll in now and play grandpa. He shrugged. All right, fine. I'll be straight with you. I need a little help. Money's tight right now. Truck needs work and I've got bills up north. You two look like you're doing just fine. I stepped forward. You came here for cash. He didn't even flinch. You're with my daughter, living in her mama's old state, knocking her up. Least you can do is throw some help my way. Tessa stiffened, but I didn't raise my voice. Get back in your truck. You threatening me? No. I'm telling you to leave while it's still your choice. Come near her again, and I file harassment. He laughed. You think you're tough? No. I think I'm done with men like you who show up too late and expect a payout. He looked at Tessa. You gonna let him talk to me like that? She didn't even blink. I should have cut you off 10 years ago. He spit on the gravel, shook his head, then walked back to his truck, muttering something I didn't catch. We watched him drive off. I didn't relax until the taillights disappeared. 2 days later, he showed up again at her job. She was just finishing a shift at the clinic when he came in pretending to have back pain. Tried to corner her near the supply closet, whispering about starting fresh. A nurse saw it happen, pulled security footage. It was enough. We filed for a restraining order the next morning. Doug handled the paperwork personally. You sure you want to go through with this? He asked. Tessa didn't hesitate. Yes. It was granted fast. Walt had a record. Couple assault charges, some back child support from another state. He never tried again. And just like that, the past stopped knocking. I told Tessa later, while we were eating dinner, you don't owe him a thing. Not a dollar. Not a word. She nodded, but didn't speak for a while. Then she said, he always made me feel like I was born a burden. That ends now. Damn right it does. She squeezed my hand. I didn't let go. 15 months after the court gavel dropped, I sat on the back porch in a plastic lawn chair, a cold root beer sweating in my hand, watching my son try to conquer the yard one wobbly step at a time. Nate grunted, arms out, legs like overcooked spaghetti. Took 2 shaky steps, plopped onto his diapered butt, then looked around like the world had betrayed him. Carly sat cross-legged on the grass, phone out, filming everything. Come on, little man. You almost had it. Tessa leaned in the doorway with a half-eaten apple, paint on her arm from touching up the kitchen trim. He walks like his dad, stubborn and dramatic. I smirked. Better than walking like your cousin, drunk on kombucha and false enlightenment. She laughed and walked over, barefoot, hair a mess, tank top stained with baby drool and primer. She sat next to me, propped her legs on my lap, took a bite of the apple. You know, she said, Nadine never figured out who she was, spent so long trying to impress people she didn't even like. I nodded. I spent that time trying not to piss her off. She looked at me, serious now. But you always had this in you, Leon. You just needed space to let it breathe. Nate pulled himself up again, fists clenched like he was preparing for war. One step, then another. Look at him go. Carly cheered, filming like it was the Olympics. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, watching the kid fight gravity like it owed him money. This wasn't the life I thought I'd be living at 55. The house behind me wasn't spotless. Toys on the floor, dishes in the sink, walls covered in Carly's old art and Nate's scribbles. The bookshelf held more baby bottles than books. It didn't smell like candles or fake ocean breeze anymore. It smelled like home, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Nate fell again, face first this time, but didn't cry. He looked up, blinked twice, and pushed himself back to his feet. I smiled. Not the polite smile I wore for years. Not the forced one I gave in court. This one came from someplace real. Starting over wasn't survival. It was freedom.